Good morning. George, Phat Foodforest. Yeah, this is George. Phat Foodforest. Just finishing the morning meditation. I let the chickens out. Grab an egg to find the rest. I was going to do a video on what's edible here. Someone asked yesterday how much of our diet's from here. I used to say 50%. I really don't know if it's more or less. I'd have to think about it more. But it's not necessarily what's edible. It's what the systems are and what's edible and when it's edible and who it's edible for. Because these systems support each other, as we all should. So this pond here, as we had the goldfish in the start and the floating plants, the only input really is the water. Having to pump it. I'll pump in this 55-gallon drum over here to recirculate it. That just keeps it from being clogged up. Bringing the clean water in off the top. But the ducks love this pond. They swim in it, and that's what all the debris on the bottom is. So I agitate that and pump it up and fertilize the garden beds. There's many connections there. The ducks eat the plants, feeding themselves. Those plants resupply themselves. You can see the little baby lily pads. They reproduce. Many things like that, finding those connections. This sochan. I made lots of videos on how we've been eating this for months. Now it's sprouted up. I'm just watching it full of insect life. These chrysanthemums will come along next. So we have something flowering all the time. Calling in all these wonderful insects, like this little spider. How yellow or gold he is. Oh, sorry, I broke his web. Mints, lots of different mints coming up through. Just that little flying bug off of that. Butterfly bush, even though it's invasive. Elderberries, and pawpaws, and raspberries, and blackberries, all in the understory. This entire mound here that we've done around the pawpaw was done with the soil we built from the sludge in the pond, dredging that. Using the wattle and daub on the front from the hazelnuts we cut back. So finding those connections, working what we have on site as much as we can. The stinging nettles here, we've been eating those all at the start of the year, and I made a tea out of them, a fermented tea. I've chopped and dropped them in place, so we'll get another cutting out of them. I'm trying to think of the name of this. Someone told me meat miso. I don't think it's miso. Go to fish, I believe. Mints in the understory. Earlier on, we had the wineberries and the blueberries. Again, all the ground covers that are edible, the chocolate mints, the violets, the sorrels, and so on. The lamb's quarter. Oh, that's sorghum coming up. That'll be seeds at the end. We can see the elderberries here. So these systems supporting each other, having succession in our flowerings, succession in our fruitings, plants that have multiple functions. So this is a autumn olive, a non-invasive amber kind variety, just loaded with berries. So we like these berries. The birds go after them less because they're not red. But it's also here to fix nitrogen for the guild around it, for the chokeberry and the apples and all these understory plants. The horseradish looks like it's having a hard summer. Varieties of flowers in here, so there's always something calling in the insects. Behind the autumn amber olive is a gummy berry. That gummy berry is another nitrogen fixer. The fig behind that, sour cherry behind that, and the hazelnut behind that, and so on. Over here is the annual garden. Lots of perennials in that as well. See squash climbing up through, cucumbers climbing up through, coming overhead, climbing the tree. So we walk through a tunnel here, more sorghum. Hi, Blue. The chickens are up here. Even in these understories, there's I think it's Cuban cilantro, or Cuban oregano, turmeric, taro, more figs and apples, Jerusalem artichokes, lots of varieties of flowers, chickens and ducks, and grapes and elderberries and Asian pears, and so on and so on. So having that diversity, that variety, that succession in timings, the plants of the guild working together to call in beneficial insects, call in the pollinators, fix nitrogen, stuff like the comfrey here. Did it the other day, we chop and drop that, it gets a beautiful flower on it. It's a great bone mender, so everything has multiple uses, knowing the uses of those plants and how they fit into the system. So knowing these systems, planting in succession, knowing how to propagate these plants. This is an Illinois everbearing mulberry. Honeyberry underneath it. It's like a blueberry. More mints and gooseberries and josta berries and currants. Varieties of flowers. Like I said, these chrysanthemums are just getting ready to take off. After the black-eyed Susans. Earlier on were the lilies and the irises. Some of the succulents in there as well. We got grapes climbing up through here. Mixed in with beans. I think we'll finish off just walking through the what we call a kitchen garden. Lots of tomatoes. Just your normal everyday vegetables we'll be eating. This is an herb spiral. Different types of thymes and rosemaries and oreganos. Chives. Cucumbers and more beans. Kales. Lettuces have all bolted, but we've reseeded. Still have lots of root crops, carrots and beets and turnips and parsnips. Squash. I've just reseeded all this, or in the process of, after spreading compost on it. And that's just the backyard. The front yard's edible as well. Just getting going on that. Just want to show the variety of things that we grow in a small area. We're a half acre here. It's just the backyard, but it's the majority of it. So in that half acre, making those connections. So even this pond's very clean with a fish in it. Knowing how to use plants, animal, and fungi, and those connections together to mimic the forest edge. Sounds like a broken record when I say that, but that's really what we're doing here. I can walk through here and eat almost any day of the year and store enough in the winter that we're not self-sustainable by any means. I don't even grow all my own food. We do grow a lot of our own food, maybe not 50%, I really don't know. But we grow, we learn to love. But at the same time, it's feeding a multitude of species of those plants, animal, and fungi, like a forest. With those, it's doing photosynthesis, creating oxygen, sequestering carbon, giving off moisture, creating a moisture loop, rebuilding that carbon cycle that we need. That was a long video. I'm George, Phat and Foodforest. Change can be better than holiday. Peace.